God,
grant me the serenity
to accept the things I cannot change,
the courage to change the things I can,
and the wisdom to know the difference.
In this edition of Overcoming Addiction, we will focus on how to navigate the substance abuse services system. Tonight's guests are Maureen Cavanagh, founder of Magnolia New Beginnings, and Richard Evans, Malden Overcoming Addiction's placement coordinator. Together, we can make a difference. Here's your host, Paul Hammersley.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Overcoming Addiction. I'm Paul Hammersley. I'm the president of Malden Overcoming Addiction. And tonight we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things, but mainly we're going to talk about how to navigate the substance use disorder treatment system. This week alone, I've taken quite a few calls, and people don't know what to do when they're at the beginning stages, and they might need a hand, they might need help, they don't know who to call, they don't know where to go. So we're going to try to clear that up tonight, and my guests tonight are Maureen Cavanagh. How are you?
I'm good. Thank
Richie
you.
Evans. How we doing, Richie?
Good, sir.
So we're just going to have a conversation on what happens if someone might need help at the beginning stages of, if someone's using and they might need treatment. Where do they go? What do they do? We all face this. We're all in the field. So people are struggling. Maureen, tell me, what advice would you give to somebody who might just need a little help?
So I think that the first bit of advice I'd give somebody, a parent or a loved one, is to seek others that are in the same situation. So go to a meeting, find a group. That's the reason I started Magnolia New Beginnings. We have online support groups. I think that those are so important, and people that have gone through it are the best teachers. There's, depending on insurance, there's a bed list that runs every morning and updated several times during the day, and that's probably one of the best resources, I think, for finding detox.
So you say a bed list, so people might not understand what that is. So where would one go to find this bed list?
So there's the Bureau of Substance Abuse Services, which is BSAS, and they accumulate data on how many beds are empty that are mass health beds in the state of Massachusetts. You can go onto magnolianewbeginnings.org and go onto our Massachusetts website, and you can look for that. There's other places you can find it as well. There's also an app called Marcy, MARSI.org, and you can find the list there as well. And they also have the listing of open CSS beds, which is the program that comes after detox.
Okay, so now Malden Overcoming Addiction, we also share those beds. And I know for someone that really has no idea what we're talking about right now, what the beds mean, and it can be very frustrating when we call the numbers.
Yeah.
There's generally a time of day that's best. Usually the beds fill up, in my experience, by in between 7 and 8:30 a.m. After that, it usually takes almost an act of God to get the bed, or someone has to leave that facility. The beds are filling up quick. Richie, I want to come over here. So as what we're talking about, you see the same thing. The beds are filling up quick. Maureen talked about a CSS, TSS. So we just learned about at the beginning how to get a detox. Yeah. You want to go and look at your local, whoever has the beds up. You might want to go on social media. You might want to look at BSAS, Malden Overcoming Addictions, Magnolia New Beginnings. This is all on Facebook stuff. You can look, see where the beds are. We have on our website, MaldenOvercomingAddiction.com. We also have a list of resources. But after when the person goes to detox, let's go there. So the person's in detox. You mentioned a CSS. So what should that person be doing for themselves from day one on to try to maybe get some further assistance?
In my personal experience, I would say if you made it to detox, CSS, I strongly suggest a hold-in after that, because once
what
you
is
get to
CSS? Tell me what CSS is.
So CSS is the next, Maureen talked about it. So you go to detox, and so then it's
generally 6 days?
It's 6, yeah. It could be 6 to 9, and then that puts you in position to, in case anyone at the holding, if the beds are filled there. So they give you some time, because a lot of the times those holdings are filled. You talked about it takes an act of God sometimes to get people placed, and especially as far as the TSS goes, you can, in order for you to go to a halfway house, you have to come from the state. What the state requires is you have to go, and that's usually what I suggest is if you're in that position, The next, you would go to CSS, a TSS, and then a halfway
So
house.
is there a difference? Explain, because some people really don't, we're throwing a lot of initials out there. So CSS, TSS, is there a difference between the two? Like what is CSS? So let me understand, basically what someone should do in a detox is start advocating for
The
themselves.
minute they get in there, yeah, that's what I tell people. And get your family member too. If you have a support system, have them call in, have an advocate call in, have a recovery coach call, and say this person wants to go on to further treatment from the day they get in there, even if it seems like it's too soon. And even with the beds, you know, the beds fill up very quickly in the morning. Keep calling anyhow. Call every 2 hours. The people that are answering the phone, that's their job, to answer the phone. So they're going to be answering the phone anyhow. They might as well be answering the phone to you 6 times when you're trying to get in. And hopefully if that bed does open up, they'll say, this guy has called 6 times, let's get him in. So you want to stay on it, but it's the same thing when you want to move on to other treatment. You have to start advocating for yourself the minute you get in there. You have to be determined to continue through that path, that continuum of care. Otherwise, the person that is going to be the one to get the scarce CSS bed.
So that's, Richie's CSS, that's the stop right after detox.
Yes, sir.
And generally, where would that be? Would that be in the same facility as the detox, or do they send you somewhere else?
Usually it's in the same facility, yeah, maybe upstairs, or it's in the same facility.
So
usually.
you're in a holding pattern, but you're safe.
Correct.
And then you're waiting for TSS, which would be a different...
Well, not always. Sometimes you could go from detox to, depends on your situation. Not everybody's willing to go to a holding. So it depends. It depends. Every circumstance will be different. But I always suggest, like I said, if you're in that position where you need a detox, get into the CSS, get into TSS, and she said it, for the treatment. That's what I always recommend. Go to the halfway house and transition back into society. If you're at the point in life where you need detox, just jumping right back out, further treatment's what I usually suggest. It's the most successful.
Yeah, further treatment is obviously is the way to go 100%, because what we're seeing now is that folks that are going into detox, it's generally we call the 6-day spin dry.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Then they're coming back home. If they choose not to advocate for themselves, one, if they don't have proper insurance, or if they just want to leave, they come back home to do the same thing.
And sometimes, because they don't have the resistance that built up, they sometimes don't make it. So
That's right.
they have no tolerance. That's what I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, that's right. And so I want to keep it with. So if you're in the TSS, now you're waiting for that 6-month program. Is that correct? You're hoping to get into just a program that's out there that's 6 months long with peers like yourself, a structured program, but there's a wait list, isn't there?
Yes, sir. Yep.
So what does that look like? So you could be in a CSS or a TSS for
3 months, 2 months. It depends. It all depends. So right now, a lot of the halfway houses have stopped. They're not taking any applications right now. So the waiting list is on hold. So that means the holdings are filled up, which means no one can come. So this is a life and death issue that we're dealing with, because, and Maureen will tell you firsthand, so if you can't go from the detox to the CSS, if there's no room in the holding, then you're going back out in the streets, then that's a life and death placement call.
So it sounds to me like there's not enough beds.
There's not enough beds.
That's right.
Okay, and so what's happening is there's too many people trying to fill these beds, and there's just not enough. We need to advocate or somehow figure out a way. We need to get more treatment facilities, more recovery centers. We need some help.
Yes,
We
sir.
absolutely do, because you can't fix this in 6 days, and you can't fix it in 30 days. You need. I feel like you need an entire year of everything that happens to a person in a year needs to happen in a supported environment. That's my feeling on that, and that's why it's so important to continue for as long as possible, and to do that from the time you walk in, to know that that's what you want and continue to push for it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know that both you guys, you have other jobs as well, and Maureen, I want to talk a little bit about, I've been hearing and seeing a lot about something called Recovery Centers of America.
Yeah, I actually am on the North Shore, the contact person, the community outreach person, but they pay me to be a resource in the community. So if they're full, which they sometimes are, I don't feel like I can only refer to there, or if there's somebody that has Mass Health, because they take all the private insurance. And we can't forget about that too. There are facilities in Massachusetts that are wonderful. There's no need to send our kids out of state or our loved ones out of state anymore, because there are really great facilities like RCA, like Recovery Centers of America, and Banyan, and Serenity, and all these great places that if you are fortunate enough to have insurance, that's an option as well.
So Recovery Centers of America, I know it's new here in Massachusetts, and it's absolutely fantastic. I got a chance to tour it firsthand, so I would like to talk a little bit about that. Like, what was the process? Why, they came here. Are they a detox? Is it a CSS, a TSS? What exactly is Recovery Centers of America? I got a chance to tour it, but I just want everyone to understand what it is. Can anyone just get in there? Do you have to have a certain insurance? Is it a detox?
So their mission is to save 1 million lives, and whether that's coming through their program or just helping people in general, that's what their mission is. They want to be a resource in the community. That's why they opened these facilities. We have a facility in Danvers, which is 72 beds right now, and will eventually be 205, and it's beautiful. And then we have another facility in Westminster that's 80 beds. And a facility may be beautiful, but it's only as good as the people in it, and we have some really spectacular, caring people in the facility as well. So we have detox. People go through, usually it's 5 to 7 days. That's typical. Then, depending on their insurance, I mean, everyone likes to get mad at the treatment centers, but they're really at the mercy of the insurance.
That's correct.
So, and they take almost every insurance, and in certain cases, some Mass Health as well, the Beacon products.
So they're another resource you could call if you needed assistance for a detox. If you were looking for help, they're on that.
So they're detox, then the CSS program, or the inpatient program, where they learn all kinds of coping skills. And for example, one of the great things I love about the facility in Danvers is there's a gym there, and it's run by Phoenix Multisport. Phoenix Multisport is a terrific organization that also in South Boston has a gym that you need 48 hours of recovery in order to go, and you go for free. So they try to get people on that whole program of doing something that maybe they weren't doing before that they can carry with them. They also have an outpatient program in Danvers, and they're opening other outpatient programs across the state.
That's amazing. And when I was at the Recovery Centers of America, I noticed that music therapy. They do something with music.
Art therapy.
It was amazing. What I saw on the tour was absolutely amazing, that folks can go and, it was amazing what I witnessed up there.
And they've committed to accepting Mass Health as well, and so that they don't have to exclude anybody, which I'm very proud of them for doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something the state really needed, and I'm really happy that they're here. And Richie, you work for Banyan Treatment Center. Let's talk about Banyan a little bit. What's Banyan got going on for folks? What exactly is Banyan doing? They have beds there as well?
They have beds there, yep. They're an inpatient, outpatient. Matt helps a lot of people as far as scholarships. Matt Gannon.
Okay.
I think everybody knows Matt all the time.
Is Matt the director?
Matt's the director
of Banyan Treatment Center.
Yes,
Where is that?
So our IOP is in Wilmington. We have a house in Wakefield. Actually, we have 2 houses in Wakefield and a house in Somerville.
It's fantastic.
Also, too. So I mean, it's the team there at Banyan and Maureen. That's
another. I mean, you call, and even if they can't get you in, they will help you. They're just in this for all the right reasons.
Yeah, I got a chance to come up there. Richie, you invited me up, and I got a chance to share some experience, strength, and hope at one of the groups, and there had to be 40 or 50 people in that room, at least 40. So how many people does it house up there?
It varies. It varies. Matt always keeps a couple of beds open for scholarships, like I said. But so right now, including IOP, I really can't say, but including IOP, we have around 55, maybe close to 60 clients altogether. And then we have a PHP, so we have both.
Okay.
And then, just in regards to, we run 5 groups a day. The clients go to meetings at night, so that, we're
always got something going on.
Always
You're in
have
there.
something
You're
going on,
in your
activities. Yep.
And you're
The
with other
gym.
people.
Maureen said that's so important to go to the gym, stay active.
Develop good activities that you can enjoy yourself after you get out of these programs, because in real life takes over.
That's amazing. So everything you guys are talking about. So this is getting people ready to take the next step, and hopefully once they get out, they can connect. If they can't get into, see, where we're coming from down here with at Malden Overcoming Addiction, what you guys are doing is fantastic. It's amazing work. But I think more peer-to-peer recovery centers
Absolutely.
should be added into the mix for the sheer fact is that if someone doesn't get into that 6-month process from the TSS or the CSS or their insurance runs out, if there was a center
Yeah.
here in our community, those people that come out, or the people that come out of Banyan and out of the RCAs of America and wherever you're coming from, you'll have a place to go, a peer-to-peer recovery center, and we're trying to work that right out here in Malden. We're trying to create that here, and like you said, everything, we have partners on board for, we have there's medical assisted treatment, we have health and wellness, all these things, but we just need the funding. But it's proven, I mean, talk a little bit about a recovery center. They're proven to work in the community. It's a super, really awesome idea to have.
I love the peer-to-peer movement, just because it's different, you know, having someone in the group or in, you know, the office. But if you take a person, a human being out and meet them at the human level, have coffee with them, and me and Maureen were talking about this, just listen to them as opposed to me conducting a group or me having all the answers or me writing a treatment plan. Just hear them out. And I think, you know, I've had experience where I've done the peer-to-peer with gangbangers, people who are in gangs, and when you take them out of their element and you break down that wall a little bit, you allow them to share some of their feelings, you know, and they start to talk about how they were abused or how their father left them, and what they want to start to talk about is feelings, you know, and it's an important thing to meet people at the human level. And just listen to them, active listening. Me and Maureen will talk about motivational interview. What do you want to do? You know,
Open-ended questions.
Open-ended questions. The most important thing is, you know what? I'm just going to actively listen to you. I'm going to hear you out.
So you called it a peer-to-peer movement, and that's what seems to be really connecting with people today, because it's pulling a lot of judgment out of it. It's pulling a lot of stigma. So when you have a peer-to-peer, when someone's meeting someone where they're at, that person's feeling comfortable. Or if there's a center and there's 25 or 30 people coming into the center and everyone's trying to do the same thing, you feel more comfortable instead of you just leaving a treatment facility after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you come home to your family who still is aggravated with you, might not want you there, people don't trust you, but if you had a place to go, that would make all the difference in the world and potentially save your life. And in these peer-to-peer centers, from what I see, because I've been touring, I've been spending a lot of time at the Divine Recovery Center.
Okay.
The peers run it.
As it should be.
They dictate.
Amen.
They dictate what goes on in the center. There is a curriculum they have to choose from, but there's no one above them saying this is what you're going to do. The peers run the center, and my God, it works unbelievably well.
Right.
So as I was watching this, it was. I really am a strong advocate for trying to get the Bridge Recovery Center to come here to Malden. And again, we're just. We're short on the funding. We're hoping our state delegation can really help us out to bring that here, because I believe, I mean, we could start talking about 6 people a day in Massachusetts we're losing. Why? Because the drugs are more powerful, because there's not enough beds, because there's not enough treatment. People talk about epidemic. And we're not in an epidemic. We're in a pandemic. An epidemic is when something is generally in one area. And a pandemic is potentially worldwide, affecting more people. And from where I sit, I don't know about you guys, this has gone across the country, across the globe.
Absolutely.
And-
Yeah, absolutely. We have 15,000 members across the country in these Facebook groups. And thank God we live in Massachusetts, because you should see what it's like in other places. I mean, there's just no place to even get treatment. So we're lucky in that. But I think the recovery centers are so key, because we're treating this, chronically relapsing brain disease as like we treat pneumonia or something that's acute that's going to go away. And this doesn't go away. So even after treatment, and hopefully that these people are coming out and they're connecting in the community. Who are they connecting with? You can't just go to meetings. You have to have access to resources. You have to have access to information, and you have to have a place like that you can go before and after. And then we'll start to see the tide change when we start to realize that this is not something that there's a quick fix and that there needs to be continued support forever for this person, just like if they had any other disease. And I think that's the boat that we're missing. That
I agree.
yeah.
And why are we missing the boat? What's the one thing that's missing? It's funding.
We need
Yep.
funding.
We need funding. You know, I heard.
But I have to say, if we looked at this from a financial perspective and we said to ourselves, well, I mean, look how much money we're spending now on the in and out and in and out. If we just did it right,
Jails.
if we, yeah, exactly. If we just did it right, we would save money in the long run.
Right.
So if we had a continuum of care that we in a supported environment, and there wasn't this stigma, and people weren't afraid to say, yes, I have this disease and I need help, and they weren't afraid of the judgment, and they would actually get help when they asked for it, and they wouldn't have to wait for a bed to open and possibly overdose and die while they were waiting,
Yeah.
we would be saving money in the end.
But it has to start somewhere.
Yes, it does.
It has to start somewhere, and right now it almost feels like we're losing the battle. You know, with what I see and the numbers I'm watching, you know, I am going to continue to battle in this fight that we're in. But you know, I went back a few months ago. We went to Washington to a summit, and we learned some horrific numbers. We learned about fentanyl and how it's coming right in the San Diego corridor, and coming right down 95. And we learned they can't stop it from coming in because the dogs are dying at the border. So what they said to me was, they said Godzilla's not here yet.
Oh, that's horrifying.
So they said we're about 3 years away from something that could be really, really horrific. And now I see, and then I believe it because now I see the carfentanil
Right.
has popped up, which is 50 times more powerful than fentanyl. It's fatal to the touch. So again, back to treatment and navigating the system, we have to start doing a better job at getting a hold of people, and that's why we do shows like this. We
Right.
want people to understand where the help can come from. What do I do at the beginning? Who do I call at the beginning?
I call Maureen.
And Richie, I call you.
Yes, I
you
think
know,
I'll call
and
you.
we all are calling each other.
Yes,
The other
yeah.
day
I
I
think
called
that
you.
I think you hit it right on the head. Is you have to reach out to your peers,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think that that's the most important thing. Is that that we talk about it and that we're open about it. And when I first found out that my daughter had a heroin problem, I didn't know who to call. I asked her where to go. Where should
So
you
this
go?
is before you were involved
This
with
is
what?
many years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you get it.
So I totally get it. I totally know what it's like to not know what to do, and it's
Yeah.
horrifying because you've spent your whole life trying to help your child, and now this is life or death, and you don't know what to do, and you don't even know who to ask.
Right.
So that's why, and that's the reason I started this, and that's the reason I'm so vocal about it, is because I do want people to ask me, and I want people to ask you, and I want people to ask you.
And Maureen's happy. When I call Maureen, she's generally happy to help and sincere, and we laugh, and it's just good to have somebody like that in my corner.
Well, I see people get well all the time. And that's what, I mean, with all this fear, and it's a scary thing, we forget that people do get well. And I think that we can't say that enough, that I wouldn't be able to wake up every morning and do this, because I talk to people all day, every day that are in the middle of a crisis.
Right.
And I deal with my own family in crisis. And I know that I couldn't do this every day if I didn't see people make that change. And it happens sometimes like that.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I want to talk on the last few minutes about just that. So we're telling everyone where the help is, how to go about the system, and we've sounded pretty glum, and it seems pretty tough,
Yeah.
but it does work
Yes.
when you go. We
Yeah.
see it every day. We see
Absolutely.
people do recover. So let's spend a couple of minutes on that. Just like you said, Richie, I'm sure you see people, you see a change in people coming out of Banyan. When they come into treatment, it could be tough at the beginning, but you watch it work. Just so people understand, once people go to treatment, it can work. It can and
works.
does work.
Yep. The peer-to-peer works, treatment works, long-term. I mean,
We see it every day.
I see it. I see it all the time in the community and using our peers, because if I could just plug a couple people, like Samantha Sullivan will find a bed if I call her at High Point. Matty Powers will find a bed. He'll make room. And some of those, so there are a lot of people who are willing to go above and beyond to help us and to make room for people when there isn't any room. So,
Well, I know as a man in long-term recovery, I came in April of 2003 and, hopeless, broken. I was 37 years old and I didn't think that someone like me could have a shot at this. So I know it works and I see it work. And, there are a ton of people in recovery and it warms my heart, because we do see a lot of failure.
Yeah.
And in this business, it's pain, suffering, and death, but there's also recovery.
Right. And when those people recover, they are amazing.
It's awesome. And so, just so people know, I like to always go out on a hope shot, there's hope.
There's hope.
And there's hope for you, and there's hope for your loved one, and there's hope for the person that's coming up who's going to fall, and it's not about how many times you fall.
It's about how many times you get back up.
Boom. It's how many times we get back up.
Absolutely.
And I want to thank the both of you for coming on the show and talking about this. And it's so important that we get this message out to people that just need assistance. It's so crucial that people understand that the help is there and not to give up when we all know when we call, Maureen, Richie, when you call those detoxes, it can get pretty frustrating because you can't get through. You have to leave a message. They're not the nicest people on the planet because their job is tough. They're taking so
They
many
have a
phone
tough
calls.
job.
It's
Yeah.
taxing, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, I just, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you. And I just want to, at this point, let anyone know if you do need assistance, if you do need a detox, you can check Malden Overcoming Addiction, our Facebook page. Every morning in between 8 and 9 o'clock, we post all the available beds. There are other spots to go as well. You can visit us on our website at MaldenOvercomingAddiction.com. We're on Instagram at Malden Overcomes. We're on Twitter at Malden Overcomes. Please just reach out to us. Our phone number is 781-838-2203. And we want to hear from you. If you're struggling, please contact us. And we'll see you next month. Thank you so much for watching. Guys.
Nice job, Paul. Thank you.
Awesome job.